A calculator we use in daily life is a little machine that will enter some input numbers or arithmetic calculations. Then the calculator will do the job and give us the result. Now, what if there's a special kind of calculator that can only do certain calculations, like subtraction, addition, or multiplication? You need to create the specific kind of calculator, and instead of inputting the entire formula, you only input the numbers, the key numbers. This is exactly what a function is. Here's how you can use Python functions in your coding projects. In simple terms, a function is a block of code that performs a specific task. It can take inputs, called parameters, and return an output. Think of it like a machine where you input something, it processes it, and gives you something back. This makes our code more organized and manageable. Now, let's see how to create a function in Python. Let's say we want to calculate the sum of two integers, like a plus b. A function helps us to calculate the sum by handling the inputs a, b, and return with the sum z as output. To create a function in Python, we use the def keywords followed by the function name and parentheses. Let's write a simple functions that add two numbers together. So we start with the keywords def. So it sounds like define, right? So define, the name of the function is add numbers. And then we'll have the parentheses, right? So inside the parentheses, we have two inputs. We'll name that as a and b respectively, with a semicolon here. And then inside the body of a function, we'll have a return. So it's the output. What will be the output? Is a plus b, because we are finding the sum, right? A plus b. Shift enter. Here, add numbers is our function name, and a and b are parameters. The line return a plus b tells Python to give back the sum of a and b when we call this function. Now, let's see how we can use this function. Let's say we create a new variable called result, and then it will equals to add numbers 3 and 5, and then we'll print the result. Shift enter. There we go. Look at that, we got 8. Functions help us avoid repetitive code. If we need to do this additional multiple times, we can just call add numbers whenever we need it. Functions can have default parameters, which means you can assign a default value. Let's modify our function to include the default value for b. Let's say you requested to wash 30 minutes of dishes when 4 of your family members eat dinner at home. That's the usual case, but if only you and your sister eat, you need to wash half less dishes and only 15 minutes are needed. We can try to calculate the time requested for washing a certain amount of dishes, depends on how many people eat at home. Again, the keywords, define. And we will define the name of this function is calculate the time, wash dishes. And then we have an input called people. So that's the number of people that are eating at home tonight. So we have a default value, which is 4, because most of the time we have 4 people eating at home. And then semicolon. And then inside the body, we'll return by the number of people times 1/8. Shift enter. Now, if we call cal time wash dishes, it will use 4 as the default value for people. We'll try to do something like here. So print, let's say, if today we have 4 people that are eating dinners tonight, then we just call calculate the time wash dishes. Shift enter. There we go. We need to use 30 minutes, like half an hour, 30 minutes to wash dishes. But what if there are only just me and my sisters eating at home tonight? So we can input the number of people will become 2 right here. So half the people required and half the time needed for washing the dishes. We got a quarter, but notice we only passed 1 parameter. This is super handy when you want to simplify your function calls. Next, let's talk about returning multiple values. Functions in Python can return more than 1 value as a tuple. Check this out. So again, we define a new function called get user information info. So inside the parentheses, we'll have 2 inputs that are name and age. followed by a semicolon. Inside the body, we'll return name and age respectively. Shift enter. So let's say if we want to get user info for a person named John, we could do something like this. So print get user info. We'll have the name as John and his age is 35. Shift enter. There we go. The output will be a set of tuple. So right now we need to be careful about the order of the inputs. When we're defining the get user info functions, we first start with the name followed by the age. So when we call the function get user info, we need to first have the name as the input followed by the age as the input. So right now we can see that the output is a set of tuples, right? We can retrieve the first item that's to be returned in here. If we want to just get the first item in the output section, we can include a square brackets when we are calling the function and then input the index of that item. The first item has an index of 0, so we'll type 0 here. Shift enter. There we go. Because name has the index of 0, it will return John here. So let's say if we want to retrieve the second item, we can use 1 for the index. So shift enter. There we go. We'll retrieve the second item in the return function here. Before we wrap up, let's quickly discuss scope. Variables defined inside a function are local to that function, meaning they can't be accessed outside. Let's take a look. Again, the keywords defined. Let's say the function is called myFunction. And then we don't have any input in here. So inside the body, we'll create a local variable called x, and then it's equals to 10. And then we'll return x as the output. Shift enter. And then when we are calling the myFunction function, we'll have the output as 10 because it's returning x, and x is 10 right here. So because x is declared in the function, so it's a local variable to the function. If we're trying to access the local variable of that function in a global scope, we couldn't do that. See, because name x is not defined in the global scope. Now you'll learn Python functions. Watch this video next to learn about Python Lambda. See you there.